And I quote, "I'll be there in a minute. Give me a second."
Time is relative, folks. Time is relative.
Yes. So, hey, cheers to everybody in the chat. They're a division rival. I don't care how many wins they get. Screw them.
That wasn't the take I was expecting to hear.
I want to gush over watching live Chris Tanev.
I think that we completely underestimate the skill it takes to play defense.
One highlight or several highlights does not a Calder trophy make.
I'm stepping in here. I'm going to be the crotchety old man here. They need to learn patience. They need to understand the tension, everything, and the drama.
How dare! Look at this. How is McDavid not getting a penalty?
You guys need to calm down with this, okay? You guys need to calm down with it.
Tyler, we are about to have the first playoff home game in Vancouver since 2015. Like legitimate playoff home game. The bubble games, they were not home games. So it's been 9 years since there's playoff action, and the Vancouver Canucks could clinch that as early as Monday against the Los Angeles Kings, depending on how things go with the St. Louis Blues, Vegas Golden Knights, and the Minnesota Wild. But welcome to the Shifts and Pucks podcast. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks, Facebook.com, Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com, Shifts and Pucks, Twitch.com, Shifts and Pucks. Subscribe wherever you get your audio as well. We have an injured list, Sean. Sean, we got a list of injuries that we need to go through on our own lineup. But how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Yeah, if we were trying to podcast yesterday, I would have been on that injured list too.
Oh,
but, I'm good today.
Oh, you're okay. Okay. So Chris apparently Chris is out with a body injury. I'm not sure if it's upper or lower body. Tyler is out with has some work to do today, and Devin is out with the peelers. So
he's in Edmonton with the peelers.
Yeah. Oh, he's in Edmonton with the peelers. So
yeah.
So lots of travel, lots of out of body injuries. But we're going to get through all of this. Lots to get through with the Canucks. But first, I do want to acknowledge, we'll spend a little bit more time on the retrospective of his career with Chris Simon when we do the Flames podcast, but did want to acknowledge the passing of this week of Chris Simon. And I think it says into this, unfortunately, is when, it's a very similar situation to what happened to Rick Rippon, unfortunately. And played with the Flames in 2004, won a cup with the Colorado Avalanche, was one of those tough guys. And it's I don't think there's anything more to say about this. And this is just a very sad and unfortunate situation. Just want to give condolences to those who were in Chris Simon's life, family, friends, hockey community. It's imagine not a good week for them. So
no condolences to everyone involved there.
Yeah. And then we'll talk a little bit more, just to tease the Flame stuff. We'll have to talk a little bit more about Lanny McDonald shared his experience and his wife Ardell of his cardiac event a few weeks ago, but we'll talk about that when we talk about the Flames. But this week for the Vancouver Canucks, it wasn't a week of the greatest competition. They did win all their games. They beat the Buffalo Sabres 3-2. They beat the Montreal Canadiens 4-2, and then they beat the Calgary Flames last night 4-2. What did we learn about the Vancouver Canucks this week?
That their demise was overblown after a short 2-game losing streak.
What? You mean they were not going to collapse into the wild card spot and the Edmonton Oilers were not going to catch them?
Honestly, it was you're starting to see what this team is going to be, the style of play and what the games are going to look like going into the playoffs with the Canucks. It's not going to be run and gun. It's not going to be anything that's going to be super exciting. They're going to play smart defensive hockey, and they're going to play smart. Like they're going to make sure that they take care of their own end. They're going to penalty kill hard. The only thing that needs to start going is the power play a little bit more. If that goes, that will make things a lot easier for them going into the playoffs. But honestly, yeah, it's smart hockey with the Rick Tocchet staples. That's what this team is now. Like they got off to such a strong start offensively, but defensively they've been this way for the most part of this season, and I don't see that changing.
No, I don't either. They play low event. They cover the front of the net very well. Like it's really hard to get to the front of the net for them for whatever team that you are. And I mean, in particularly, Calgary couldn't, looking at the game Saturday night, Calgary couldn't really generate any offense unless a defenseman jumped into the play. So that, they're not, it's very low event in terms of that. And you're right. The power play, although they did get the goal from JT Miller last Saturday night, they do need to. That's still, I guess, the one question that they need to work on for the last few games here. But I guess the one other thing that we are learning, and I think that this is becoming more and more of a staple here, is the play of Niels Höglander, who's got, by the way, more 5-on-5 goals than Connor McDavid. He's in the realm of even more than Mikko Rantanen, considering the amount of time that he's played this season, which is an average of 12 minutes a game. We were kind of talking off air. There's a legitimate argument, just when you look back at the 2019 draft, that he could be considered one of the steals of the draft. Like, you forget that it was Vasily Podkolzin that was picked first, and it was Niels Höglander that was picked in the second round. But there's a legitimate argument that you could make that he's one of the steals of that draft.
Oh yeah, and there's all this consternation about how the Podkolzin pick was going to turn out, considering after him Matt Boldy was picked, Cole Caulfield was picked. When you have Höglander stepping up now, and if he can continue this for the foreseeable future, not just the rest of this season, but the season after and so far and past that, that's going to make things a lot easier, even though I still think things are coming for Podkolzin as well. But the way that Höglander's playing, and freaking Tyler Myers called him a freaking mini fridge in the post game. Yeah. And that is, it's very true. Like, he is, and this is what I liked about the pick. And when I started watching him and seeing some of the highlights, he's got a bit of a rat tendencies to his game, which is fantastic. And we saw the skill on display last night, but he's so hard to get off the puck. He forechecks tenaciously. The only thing that was really the issue was some of the decisions with the puck and decisions without the puck that he was taking at times. He can get a little overexcited and try to do too much. But there's the old saying is you'd rather try and rein in a stallion than put, was it I can't remember the other half of that, but it's like you would much rather try and rein in someone like Höglander than trying to find a way to create an animal out of a teddy bear type deal. So I love his game, and he may not be the biggest player, the tallest player, but he plays bigger than he is, and that is huge for the Canucks.
Yeah, he's versatile. He's found his skill. He's found his confidence. They have found the right amount of time to play him for now. But I think one of the questions that I think will be, I'm just curious, is it, the power play, is that, you talked about that being an issue. Would you consider down the stretch here trying to see if you can get Höglander some power play minutes?
Well, he's on the second unit now. As far
Oh
as
yeah, we did play last
yeah,
night.
he's on the second unit now, which is fine. Like that, the first unit, you just have to. They just need to. The thing with the Canucks power play right now is it feels like it's just in this middle. They're fine. They're starting to find the form, but they're not getting the results that like it feels like they should be getting. Like they've still gotten a couple power play goals in the past game or few games, but it just feels like they should be scoring more on the power play. So it's and if you can start to be a little more consistent with the production there, that just it makes teams second guess on being aggressive on the Canucks because you can't take penalties. So that's the only issue with the power play. I think it's just they're doing all the right things. They're just not getting the quote unquote puck luck, or they're not getting the goals at the rate that I think it feels like they should with the talent that's on especially on that first power play unit, and then the chances that they've had in the past few games. It feels like the dam's about to break.
Yeah. I also just one other thing I wanted to point out here. I mean, the demise of Elias Pettersson has been again greatly exaggerated. Is he going to be the player of the week? No, but an unselfish play on that second Höglander goal, which is going to be that's probably one of the goals of the year for the Vancouver Canucks for sure. But he just let Höglander go in on a 2-on-0, and then he blocks a shot last night on the penalty kill against Calgary. A multi-point game against the Buffalo Sabres. I think Pettersson had a really, really good week after he said he had a bad game against Colorado. His the consternation over and the demise of Elias Pettersson has also been greatly exaggerated. He's still a top-tier player in the National Hockey League.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it was I think it was just people trying to find something to complain about, honestly. And as good as that second Höglander goal was, give me that. I would watch it. I would watch the first goal, the tic-tac-toe goal over that. It's so good. The passing on that, Garland finding Petey, and then Petey finding Höglander right in front, and Marsham had no chance on that. That was just absolutely gorgeous. Like those tic-tac-toe goals don't get nearly enough just hype as a lot of the individual like skill ones that like you saw from the leg kick, forehand, backhand, roof deke that Höglander did for the second goal, but the passing and the vision that it takes to pull off those tic-tac-toe goals, so good.
Yeah, that was, you're right. I agree. That was also a that was a good goal too. The other, just one other player I want to get to, but just from last night, the two controversies, just want to get your take on it. Flame fans thought Huberdeau should have got a penalty shot. Well, even Huberdeau was lobbying for a penalty shot on his breakaway. I barely even thought that was a slash, to be honest. I kind of thought that was a bit of a weakish penalty, in my opinion. Like Colson, I think depending on the ref's angle, he clearly thought he hit something, but he hit the stick. But I did not think that was a penalty shot.
Well, it wasn't a penalty shot. I can understand why people and fans think that it could have or should have been, but I don't know. That's one of those soft, like that, as you said, it was a softer penalty. If it wasn't a breakaway, I don't think you would have. The argument would have been more about whether or not it was a slash or not, but because it was a breakaway or a partial break, that's where the penalty shot comes in. So I think it's, I don't know. I don't think it was a penalty shot. No.
Did you think J.T. Miller should have got a penalty shot?
Oh, I think that's closer to a penalty shot than the other one. And the Canucks scored on it, so it's a moot point anyways, but it's also borderline because I don't think he was fully clear and didn't quite have the didn't quite have control of the puck in enough that it would have been it was clear cut. So
Yeah, I'm with you. It was close, but it was closer than Huberdeau in my mind for sure.
yeah.
One other player I wanted to give a shout out to, and I don't think he's been, since he's been acquired, I don't really recall him having any egregious giveaways. But Nikita Zadorov has really started to endear himself to the Canuck fan base. It's called Big Daddy Z now. Laid a couple of big hits, had a couple of goals against Montreal. He's got a vicious slap shot. Like when he's on, this guy is a pretty high level defenseman. When unfortunately at the times when he's down, it can be up and down. But he also laid some pretty solid hits. But I don't really recall Zadorov making any profoundly egregious errors. Like I think he's been pretty good for the most part here.
He has been. He's had a couple of really good games this past week. Getting the 2 goals in earlier, and then just having a couple big hits, and then even like a week or so ago got the Gordie Howe hat trick.
He's Winnipeg.
So I think it's not a. He's exactly what I thought the Canucks were getting. Just a tough player to play against, can skate, and can shoot the puck when needed. He's a perfect sort of middle of the lineup, sort of depth, middle of the lineup defenseman there. He's not someone you want in as the anchor of a second pair, but he can be the complementary defenseman for that, or he can be the anchor of the third pair, which he basically is right now.
Yeah, him and Noah Juleson. Yeah.
Juleson or Cole is who he's been playing with. Yeah.
And I guess this transition, there's been a lot of conversation around the potential free agents and who's going to pay who what. Talk about Philip Roenick and his contract situation. Of course, Nikita Zadorov is a UFA. Tyler Myers is a UFA. As well, Noel Juleson, you'll have to address as well. Is it too early to have this conversation? Do we need to?
It's not too early. Like, are they allowed to sign now? Yes. Then it's not too early.
Are you? The reason I ask that is because I think the playoffs will have an impact on what you're doing, and that performance in the playoffs will have an impact on what you're doing as well. Not that it's, not that you should overreact to what's happened, but I do think, it does, depending on how things go. I think that does play something into this, but
I mean, it does, but it's also like you work your way down through the priority list. Right now, I think the top of the priority list is figuring out what's going on with Philip Roenick. And if you can get him signed to a decent contract, then you move on. Then you get that done, and you move on. He's a player who has struggled a little bit of late, or just hasn't looked as good as he did at the beginning of the season. And people are sort of questioning how much do you pay him. But honestly, until you figure that out, you can't really move on to a Myers or a Zadorov, let alone anyone else. Luckily for the Canucks, like they've got Noah Juleson signed for another year at $775,000 per year. So it's a really good cap hit for Juleson, who's been just a great like surprise for the Canucks, because you knew he was going to be like a good sort of 7-8 defenseman, but he's actually almost pushed his way into the top 6. He just has been playing so solid. He's another mean defenseman to play against, and he's really shined under Tocchet and Adam Foote, being able to play smart, just smart, simple hockey. So, but yeah, they have to. They've got Myers, Zadorov, Ian Cole, and Mark Friedman. They're all UFAs after this season. And you've got Veronica, who's an RFA with arb rights. So, but yeah, you have to figure out what's going on with Veronica first before you can even move on to the other defensemen, unless they're willing to sign a super team friendly deal that you can't say no to.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I guess Ronick with Ronick. It's been a bit of a. You're right. It's been a bit of a struggle. I mean, he had a good start. He's struggling. I'm wondering if I wonder if whenever the end of the season comes, there'll be some sort of injury reveal there. Wouldn't surprise me. But he's also
not even. I wouldn't even say he's struggling. He's just not playing at the level that he did at the beginning of the season, and he's been solid for the most part. I think it was 3 weeks ago, he was really struggling with overthinking things and double clutching on plays. But right now, for the most part, that's all gone away, and he's still playing solid defensively. Outside of the odd play, which happens. Just can we like, every defensemen are going to get walked. There's too much damn skill in this and in the NHL that you cannot just like get not expect 99% of the defensemen to get like be perfect. You're even the best defensemen, the Makars, the Foxes, the Hugheses, they're gonna get walked. They're gonna get beat and made look silly by a lot of the skill in the NHL these days. So like, it's going to happen. Don't overanalyze getting Philip Ronick getting walked by Tage Thompson. I mean, half the fan base didn't even see that goal because the Sportsnet feed went off.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's right. Right.
Just it was Darlene actually who walked him, but just calm the fuck down. Like, there's no, like, yes, it sucks. They still won the game. But it's Ronick's gonna get paid, whether it's with the Canucks or not. But he's also been a big reason why Quinn Hughes has taken the step this year, because he's a step above the partners step or two above the partners that Quinn Hughes has played most of his career with.
Yeah, and also the other thing with Ronick is he is in a new position, being in a top pairing role, and there is an adjustment when you become a guy to the guy. There is that adjustment, and I think that's part of it with Ronick as well. So nothing. I don't think there's anything to worry about with him. And thank you for bringing this up, because even on Flames Twitter, the amount of complaining about egregious turnovers for a team that lost 3 NHL top caliber defensemen for inexperienced defensemen. You wanted this. You wanted this little tankathon, and now you're upset that the Flames are making turnovers? Good grief. Just stop. And actually maybe credit the Canucks for some good forechecking, because that was part of the problem last night. That's why there were turnovers. And also, the other thing, while we're on this soapbox, can we stop just blaming defensemen for goals? Forwards are part of the problem as well. When they don't back check, or they are lazy when a guy goes past them, Connor McDavid, that causes a problem as well. Jeez. I'm pro defenseman. That's all I have.
We both are.
Yeah. So, and then just speaking of Ian Cole, Rick Tocchet said that he was banged up. So he's been out of the lineup, and I imagine as the weeks continue here, the games continue here, they're going to switch some things up a little bit with that. Elias Lindholm was revealed he's battling something. I know it was an empty net goal, but I'm glad he scored last night. I think that hopefully will help him. And I don't think this is again for the analytics. How many times has Elias Lindholm been out for an important faceoff? Like they put it between Miller and Besser when they need a faceoff one, and he wins them. He wins them all the time. He's at a 60 to 70% rate. And that's one area that the Canucks have improved on since Lindholm has been here. He hasn't scored much. We will grant that. But at that faceoff dot, the Canucks are close to a 60, are one of the top of the league right now. So, and Lindholm is the reason for that. So I give him. Here's me. I love defensemen and I love Elias Lindholm, but he's such an intelligent player. He plays there's a lot of things that you will look on your analytics chart and it will not look appealing for Elias Lindholm, some of that. But if you actually watch and study the game the way that he plays it, it is highly intelligent. And I think that will come key in the playoffs with a guy like having Elias Lindholm, even in a third or fourth line in that bottom six role, when that is during the playoffs, you need bottom six becomes a little bit more important in playoffs than it does in regular season. What those little things that people forget that Elias Lindholm will do will pay dividends down the road.
I think he's someone I think he's starting to come around here. Yes, he might be, but he's battling something, but you can still see it. He's still doing all the small things, and if they can get him healthy, and they have I wonder what that third line looks like with the Garland and Hoglander with Petey. Seems to have clicked. So I think they'll stick with that for at least the near future. And then once you've got Lindholm at hopefully close to 100% as he can get for the playoffs, and you have Joshua come back, Mikheyev, Lindholm, Joshua as that third line. That'll be a tough, hardworking line to play against. That'll be really good.
Yep. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, there's a number of different ways, a number of different combinations that you can go depending on the situation, right? So,
and you're seeing Taka not being shy about loading up the Lotto line half for shifts in the game, and then but that's a lot of that is because you've got Lindholm as a center option. When you put Miller and Petey on the line at the same line, so there's a lot to like in terms of the mix and match options for the Canucks going forwards.
Yeah. They are in good shape for sure. A few other just bits and bites to just touch on here. Dakota Joshua non-contact practice jersey in practice today. So at least he's on the ice. Still a ways to go, obviously. So wanted to touch on that. Jonathan. Just 1 second here. Sean, sorry, something just came up here. I'll be right back.
Yeah. All right. So I think what Kevin was getting at was that Jonathan Lekkerimaki is coming into Vancouver. He will. It looks like the Abbotsford's on a bit of a road trip, and it looks like Lekkerimaki will not be joining the Abbotsford Canucks. And I don't think there should be any expectations for him to play any games while he's here because he's going to go back to Sweden and try and make the World Championship team, which I think he will. But don't expect any games for Lekkerimaki. He's going to just soak up as much as he can with practices, talking with Tocchet and the coaching staff, figuring out what the expectation is for him in the off season, and before he comes over and most likely starts the season in Abbotsford. We're seeing we talked about the development of Höglander this year. A lot of that is because he spent all of last season in Abbotsford in the AHL. I expect the Canucks to find a way to do what they can to bring Lekkerimaki in as slow as possible. So don't expect any games, any NHL games for Lekkerimaki while he's over here. It just makes too much sense to just slow play him and let him get ready for the World Championships. Even though, like, if it was up to me and if I was able to make the decision, I would want him playing with Abbotsford for the rest of the season. I just think getting him over and getting used to the North American ice and style of game as soon as possible would be better for his development. But that's not saying that the World Championship is bad for his development either.
Yeah, sorry, just something came up here. That's mostly agree, I think, but I do think it's he will have a good experience with the Swedish World Championship, and just that's a good story. Again, he had a tough start, and that's why you stay patient with picks, because it wasn't a great start last year here a couple years ago, but he's been starting to get better, and just slowly develop that. Yeah, with you on that. Tom Willander, pardon me, poor pronunciation there. The Canucks first round pick last year was named to the All Hockey East second team. This is a guy that decided to make the jump from Sweden to the North American game and is playing with Maxim Celebrini. And that's a good news story as well. I think this is one, as a pro defenseman podcast, there's a lot of consternation over taking Zach Benson over or taking Tom Willander over Zach Benson. I actually think that is going to turn out to be the right move for the Vancouver Canucks. Will Benson be a goal scorer? Sure, yes, he will be. But I think what Willander will come up to be a defenseman. I think will make that what Benson's argument, Benson's goal scoring view in a lot of ways. So, yeah.
No. And then I didn't quite get to Elias Pettersson, the defenseman. D-Petey, his Swedish Hockey League season is over as well, and he's making the jump over, and he's going to be joining the Abbotsford Canucks as well for the stretch run. I'm not sure what to expect in terms of ice time and playing time for him going into this, but it's good for him to get over here and get into the swing of things with the Abbotsford Canucks, because that's where he's going to be next year. And I think there's expectations for him to be a decent piece of the puzzle that down there for next season.
Yeah. So Abbotsford is 6th in the Pacific Division, 32-24-4. They should make the playoffs though. He'll get a playoff run, and you're right. And then for next year he'll be on the team there. So, I'm kind of surprised. It's surprising that there's 6, but there's teams with some really good records in that Pacific Division in the AHL. So, including the Coachella Valley Firebirds.
The top seven in the Pacific Division make the playoffs in the AHL, and the eighth place Henderson Silver Knights are 11 points back of the Abbotsford Canucks. So they'll most likely they'll at least get one playoff series. So
yeah, and it's something, right? It's experience, right?
Yep.
With the Canucks, is there anything else that we need to get into?
Not much. They've got this upcoming week.
LA.
See here, they've got LA on Monday, and if they win and get some help, they can clinch a playoff spot, which would be fantastic. And then they've got the Stars on Thursday, and then the Ducks on Sunday. So again, still pretty spread out in terms of the schedule for the Canucks, which helps them with a Demko coming back without missing too many games. Joshua hopefully coming back soon helps with the recovery for whatever Lindholm is fighting, and even Ian Cole, who's basically, I think everyone's a little banged up right now. He's on the older side of things, and when you've got someone like Noah Juleson who can step in and you don't really miss too much in the way in between the two, it makes it easy to rest him. So, but yeah, 3 games in the next 7 days is a nice schedule for the Canucks to end March.
Yep. The one other thing, Rick Tocchet, there was some talk about Rick Tocchet wanting to be part of the Canucks schedule making next year. He's probably not too happy about this 9-game homestand. That is, in terms of it is a bit of a lengthy one, but the schedule for the Canucks has never been. I wish Rick Tocchet all the luck in the world in improving that schedule, which has been one of the worst in the league for years in terms of travel. It's the way that it is. So, yeah, and I mean, a 9-game homestand is probably not ideal, but at the same time, it is. I guess it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah. There's a few things going on around the NHL here. We'll start with the GM meetings, which, to Sean's excitement, we may get more things reviewed, which includes puck over glass and high sticking. And now the talk around this is if you challenge puck over glass or high sticking, and it is not ruled, it is an unsuccessful challenge, it will go to a 5-on-3. I don't know if I'm
because no, yeah. If you're going to challenge something, if you're going to challenge the refs and slow the game down, that's the issue with these challenges and these reviews. They slow the game down because they take way too freaking long. And if you're going to do that and you get it wrong, you should be penalized. And if you're going to challenge a penalty, guess what? You're going to get another penalty.
I agree. This is the way I would do it. If you call, like this happened with the Capitals, if you call a timeout and you challenge after that timeout and it is not a successful challenge, I think those should be 5-on-3s because you wasted our time. If you're doing it kind of in the instant, I do think it should be a penalty, but it should be 5-on-4. That's the way I would.
But you're already challenging a penalty, and if you challenge a penalty, and they uphold the penalty, you're saying that they shouldn't be punished for it. They should be,
but if you call, I think a 5-on-4 if you don't call a timeout before, like if it's a puck over glass and you're in your quick video review and you're like, wait, let's challenge it. Yeah, 5-on-4. If you call a timeout to have
Kev, if it's upheld, if you uphold the call, that's one penalty. And then the punishment for slowing the game down and putting the game through a review just to have the call be on the ice being upheld, you should be penalized for that. And that's where the 5-on-3 comes from.
Yeah, I'm saying it should be a punishment, but I'm saying.
So what's the punishment then?
Going 5 on 4
minute? Is it 4 minute 5-on-4?
Oh, that would be an interesting option. I wonder if you could do that. Would you choose a 2-minute 5-on-3 or a 4-minute 5-on-4? That would be interesting. You can make that the team's decision.
Then you're giving the coaches another option to slow the game down. Just if you're going to do it, keep it simple. If you want to challenge a high stick call or a puck over glass and you get it wrong, you're on a 5-on-3. And if you're not 110% certain that the call you're going to get that call, don't challenge it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just think that if you like, what I don't want happening though is teams calling a timeout for. I think I think it's more egregious if a team calls a timeout, challenges a play, and it's not overturned. That to me is more of a waste of a time than the decision between a puck over glass or offside or anything.
How often does that happen though, Kev?
It happened this week at least once. The Washington
Yeah,
Capitals did it against the Flames.
I mean, and I feel like it's a completely different argument though. Like, yeah, I if you want to say, yeah, if you're going to call a timeout just to double check give your video coaches another like 30 seconds to try and get this right, and you challenge it and it's still wrong, that yeah, maybe make it a 5-on-3, but that's completely different than just challenging it right off the bat and still getting it wrong, but you're challenging a penalty, therefore you're going to get another penalty on top of it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, that's why that's 5-on-3. Okay. As opposed to, yeah,
Yes.
okay, I see what you're saying.
Yes, because and honestly, just we need to stop this whole just get it right mentality. Mistakes happen. It sucks. I'm going to yell about it. Everyone's going to yell about it. But this idea that you have to get it right, if by slowing the game down and then adjudicating whether it plays offside or onside by millimeters or stuff like that, it's not within the spirit of the rule. It's not within the spirit of the idea, and it slows the game down.
And they don't always get it right. Even with review, they don't always get it right.
Yeah, well, it's just because there's a lot of the time it's just it's a subjective call, especially when it comes to goaltender interference.
Yeah, that is subjective, and yeah. The good thing, though, the one thing that I think that I'm happy about is there's not going to be any changes to 3-on-3 overtime. None of this shot clock nonsense. We're not basketball.
Oh, good God! I'm so glad about that too, because it's not broken. It's not.
No,
if you don't want the players to the team to hold on to the puck and regroup, then be better to like. All you need is a coach. You need to coach better to be able to like forecheck and get the puck back.
Yeah.
And then even when they do maybe you get like 30, 40 to a minute, 30, 40 seconds to a minute of a little like slow, just methodical chess match. But as soon as like one mistake is made, it's pond hockey again. It's up and back the ice, and you that's when the excitement happens.
Yeah.
If you're going to say that you can't go, like you're going to dump it back in after you go over and back, or you blow the whistle, or there's a fucking shot clock to artificially. No, hockey is better when it's more fluid and free flowing. And the more artificial stoppages and bullshit like things to stop that from happening makes it worse.
The only thing that I would want a shot clock for is for the shootout when there's sometimes someone that's a human rain delay and that takes forever to get down the ice. But even I also think,
even then it doesn't even take that long compared to some of these reviews.
Yeah. Yeah, there was one this week. I think was it Kuznetsov that took 3 hours to get down the ice? Well, someone did. Anyway, I can't remember. But
he took what 20 seconds versus 5. Like,
it's a strategy. I'm not complaining too much about it. You know,
as long as you're going,
he's not going into his own end and winding up, right? He's still going in, and he's taking his time. So, yeah.
To be honest, anyway, that like the more I think about this, the slow shootout is just a cloud to yell at more than anything else, because it's you take your time. If you can continue to go forwards and keep forward momentum, whatever. It's not like you're taking 3 minutes to do a penalty shot.
No, I mean, if that happened, then
Well, there's no way it can happen that way.
No, it shouldn't.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So it's not, because I think the rule is as long as you have to keep forward momentum, right? So
Yeah. Before we get back to the Western Conference, the John Tortorella scratched his new captain, a captain for a month, Sean Couturier, and he didn't do it once; he did it twice. Now, in terms of how he handled this was fascinating because he did a lot of Bradshaw and Rocky Thompson media availabilities, which is part of, I think, which is really part of the Philadelphia Flyers, which is kind of one of the things that they've been doing. They do allow their assistant coaches to answer media questions. But Tortorella really didn't address this in the media. This is not the first time that Tortorella has gotten into a battle with a player, i.e. Pierre-Luc Dubois, i.e. Vincent Lecavalier, etc., etc., etc. Roberto Luongo and him didn't exactly hit it off when he was in Vancouver for a much ballyhooed event as well. Is this torts being torts?
it's torts being torts, and torts being a bit of an embarrassment at times with that. Yes.
Yeah, he's having
if you're gonna scratch your captain, because it's not only that, but like they asked him, he's like, and Couturier was a little miffed at what Torts wants more of. So there's it to me, a lot of that comes down to just Torts being a stubborn ass, and then I know people were found it very entertaining when he said, basically, I'm not going to Wes McCauley, and then he's basically frozen out a reporter in Philadelphia based off of some reports. I don't know. I think just at some point I think we're starting to see the end of the Tortorella era in Philadelphia here, because I think when you're making it more about yourself instead of the team.
Yeah,
That's an issue.
Yeah, and that's kind of been Torts' way too. He kind of in some during every reign, you kind of look at this. At some point, he makes this about himself, and I really didn't like what he did to Wes McCauley a couple weeks ago when he was ejected from the game. Not a big fan of just how, maybe he has legitimate reasons for scratching Couturier, but he's not.
I'm sure he has something that at least is legitimate to him. But the fact that like Couturier was miffed at it, you saw Brandon Dubinsky post on social media about it being torts, and he hasn't changed. And then you throw in some of the other stuff that he's done this year. Yes, it's entertaining in a dramatic way, but it's also not necessarily the most it's not the most mature way to handle things, right? And you said you had Rocky Thompson and Bradshaw taking questions and all that, but if you're gonna make a big statement like that, you need to and you're not going out there and talking to the media, it doesn't look good.
No. And it's not like the Flyers are home and cooled in the playoffs. They're in third in the Metropolitan. They're 2 points behind the Washington Capitals, who actually, I think they're actually tied now because Washington beat Winnipeg today. So they're tied with Philadelphia technically that second wild card spot, with the Islanders and the Devils lurking behind them a little bit. So the Flyers are not home and cool into any playoff spot. So yeah, I think this is not the time of year that you should be playing these type of games anyway. You should know what your team is. And really, all that Sean Couturier has been to be treated this way, it's not a good look for him.
No, it's not a good look for Torts at all.
Let's switch to the West. I think that we'll get to the focus probably for most people from the Vancouver Canucks side, but I do wonder if we need to add a new potential playoff opponent to the Vancouver Canucks here and that is the Winnipeg Jets, who lost again on Sunday afternoon to the Washington Capitals 3-0. They lost to the Islanders after the Islanders laid an absolute egg against the Detroit Red Wings, after the Winnipeg Jets laid an absolute egg. Both of those teams came in laying an egg, and you would have thought the Jets were, as angry as they were against New Jersey, would have came out and played with some fire and emotion. They most certainly have not done that this week. And the Nashville Predators refuse to lose and are currently only 5 points behind the Jets. And I think it's not out of the realm of possibility that the way that the Predators are playing, the Jets are playing, that the Jets could be the first wild card and the Predators could get into the top three. And this is a very similar situation to what happened to the Jets last year, who got off to this great start and everybody was impressed. And then the second half of the year into the playoffs, they backdoored their way into the playoffs last year because Calgary couldn't beat the Chicago Blackhawks late in the season last year. Just, if I'm a Jets fan, and then you made the Sean Monahan move for a first round pick, you got the Tyler Toffoli trade, like you made your moves. I would be very concerned if I'm a Jets fan about how you're going into the playoffs here, because you're not going in a good situation here, and especially with an opportunity really to cement the hold for the first in the Central. If I'm a Jets fan, I'm legitimately concerned.
Yeah, well, it's funny because the Jets are the Jets are, they're 6 points, 7 points up on Nashville.
I have 5, 93 to 88. According to what I got here.
Nashville win last night, and NHL.com hasn't updated.
Yeah, Nashville. Yeah, they did. Yeah. Okay.
But so 5 points back. They're also like 2 points back of Dallas for second. Colorado won today, so they're now 4 points up. 4 points back of the Avs. 5 points with 11 games to go. That's
like how Nashville is.
Nashville would have to come close to running the table for the rest of it to catch them. So, I'm not saying it's out of the possibilities, but I think it's at some point this Nashville team's going to come back to earth, at least for a few games. So,
yeah, I don't know. Winnipeg, though, I would be concerned. Third wild card, wherever they're finishing. I would be concerned if I'm a Jets fan. I mean, Connor Hellebuyck got off to a great start. He hasn't been great since the All-Star break. It hasn't been a great Connor Hellebuyck. They can't seem to. That Gabe Vilardi injury, I think, is a pretty significant injury, and this is the second straight year of stumbling in the second half of the year. So I would be concerned if I'm a Jets fan. And Nashville could come back to earth for sure, but they are going to cause a problem for somebody in the playoffs.
So yeah, if the Jets basically play 500 for the rest of the season, that's in 11 games, that's 11 points. So that put them at 104 points. The Preds are at 88. So that's going to be tough for them to 88. So that 100 they'd have to get 105 points if the Jets play at 500. So I'm going to be, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they're going to do it, but I think ultimately the Jets are not coming in with any momentum. The Predators are certainly coming in with some momentum early here. I mean, we'll wait and see what happens with the last couple of weeks in the playoffs. But the Predators have certainly been probably one of the better stories in the second half of the year, for sure.
Yeah. And as Hot Take Hockey John says in the chat, Jets are going to have a horrible playoff matchup no matter what. Yes.
Yeah, they are actually.
They're either going to be in the 3 spot facing Dallas, or they're gonna, if they drop to the wild card, that could be Colorado or Vancouver.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Yeah. You got to be playing some better hockey too, right? So,
Yeah.
speaking of that last wild card playoff spot is becoming fascinating. We all were praising the Vegas Golden Knights for their bold moves here. They got Noah Hannafin, and they acquired Tomas Hertl, who could get back here. But tomorrow night, Monday night, it's the Golden Knights and the Blues. A little later on next Saturday, the Golden Knights are playing the Wild, which is Marc-Andre Fleury. The Blues are closing in on the Vegas Golden Knights. They did win last night against Columbus. Saturday night
They
against
lost Aiden Hill.
Oh, he got hurt last. Yeah, I don't think. I'm not. Do you think Vegas is going to hang on to that spot?
Oh, so the Blues are 4 points back. They've got 11 games to play, and the Golden Knights have 12 games to play. But if the Blues can win tomorrow, game on. Because then they're 2 points back, and yeah, I think it comes down to tomorrow. Blues win, they're 2 points back, and they have a chance. If Vegas wins, they can extend it to 6, and that's gonna be tough to overcome for the Blues with 10 games left.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of it. It'll be tough with Sid. It's going to come down to Vegas. It's down to Vegas, St. Louis, and Minnesota in the West. And yeah, Vegas has to win this for their own, to keep themselves safe, at least, or keep themselves kind of sane here. And I'm not saying that they're going to be an easy out in the first. There's not going to be an easy out in the first round of the West. No matter who you're playing, it's going to be tough. But would it be something?
Some of the playoff matchups that we could have in both conferences are juicy, because you look at we could have. There is a chance we get Toronto-Boston in the first round, but there's also a chance you get Florida-Toronto in the first round. Either of those are going to be just theater.
There could be Tampa, Florida in the first round.
There could be Tampa, Florida in the first round. There's a chance, a very outside chance that you get you could get Rangers, Islanders in the first round too, which would be insane.
That would be insane.
But you could get Carolina, Washington in the first round, the Kuznetsov Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, and they had a hell of a game on Friday.
Mm-hmm. So it's, and then again in the West, you've got Colorado versus Vegas would be amazing. Vancouver, Vegas would be good. Colorado, Nashville would be fun. Dallas, Winnipeg, Dallas, Nashville, Dallas, Vegas. Dallas ain't out of it for the top of the Central as well. You could get Edmonton, LA. You could get Edmonton, Vegas.
Yeah,
it's there's so many great storylines no matter what. Because he said, if you get Edmonton, LA, third year in a row, Edmonton, Vegas, Edmonton's pissed off over last year.
Yeah,
Vancouver's in there no matter who they play. If it's Winnipeg, you get an all Canadian matchup. Would be fun. There's a lot of really, really good first round matchups coming up.
And that means there'll be some good second round matchups too, which is great. Yeah, this is going to be a good year, and there's really nothing set in stone, which like you forget that LA has been cemented and has been in third for a while, but they're only 2 ahead of Vegas, so
Yeah.
that could switch. So yeah, there's so much. This is going to be an absolutely fascinating 2 weeks, and then when we get to the playoffs, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And any other anything that we need to cover?
Not off the top of my head.
Is there one last question?
Let's go back to those playoff matchups there, Kev. And if you could, realistic, outside of, say, like Canucks podcast, so Canucks one will be the one that we watch the most. Outside of that, out of those realistic playoff matchups, which one is the one that you would want to watch the most?
Probably Dallas, Colorado. Because I think those two that's going to be like incredible hockey. You've got Nathan McKinnon, Mikhail Makar, like those are elite, but you've got this Dallas team is elite as well. And of course, they got Chris Tanev there. Joe Pavelski, when it's time for playoff time, Joe Pavelski always shows up, no matter if the man is 243 years old. He knows how to tip pucks. I think that's going to be an absolute great matchup, but that's going to be the second round. I don't think that's going to be a first round. The first round matchup that I think Colorado-Nashville will be an unbelievable first round, because you've got 2 potential Norris Trophy candidates in there. You've got with Makar and Roman Josi, and some are pushing Josi for the Hart. You got that Nashville team not loaded with a high end bunch of superstars, but they just fight and battle you. And yeah, I think that will be interesting as well. It will probably be fun to watch the Leafs implode. And I'm just going to say this: I don't care who the Oilers play; they're not out of the first. They're going to lose in the first round. I will maintain my bold prediction from the first. I don't care who they play; they're not winning out. They're not getting out of the first round.
Yeah. I would say mine would be if Toronto faces Boston. I think just to see Toronto, the Toronto market go absolutely crazy again. But Toronto, Florida would also have that with what happened last year as well. And then John throwing out like a perfect chaotic scenario. Colorado, St. Louis would be fantastic. Dallas, Nashville, Edmonton, Vegas, Winnipeg, Vancouver, and then the East. That bracket in the East would be insane. Florida, Tampa, Toronto, Boston, Rangers, Flyers would be fantastic.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
There'd be multiple baths in this this round, and that leaves Hurricanes, Caps. Like, oh
yeah. I can't wait for the playoffs in a couple weeks. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. And and we'll be so hopefully the Canucks clinch either Monday or at some point this week. We clinch we get that playoff spot clinched, which it's going to happen anyway. And and then we'll see.
Honestly, for the pure chaos thing, we don't want the Canucks clinching on Monday, because they need help, right? They need Vegas to beat St. Louis for them to clinch.
Yeah, we do want the chaos would be fun. Yeah.
More chaos, the better.
Yeah, because you want the race for sure. And because there's and it's some good hockey for the rest of the week here. Yeah. But we'll leave it there. We'll talk Flames a little later on this week, just trying to nail some scheduling down here. But how do we follow you?
I am Bearded Canucks 03 on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call that app now.
Chris is Schneids at most social medias. Tyler TNOBLE on social media. Gordhow09 is where you can find Devin. I am KEVOLE on the social medias, including Threads. Thanks. We seem to be getting more live viewers the last little bit. Hit that like and subscribe button. Tell your friends and family or even your enemies about us. And hit that subscribe, like button. Retweet our stuff. And thanks for joining, and thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for listening, and we will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.